Salut à tous, bienvenue pour ce troisième épisode de The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Découverte avec cette nouvelle fin des reviews Steam et du skip button. La fin où on skip. J'appuie sur des boutons. Ah, voilà.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
La fin, on attend dans notre bureau seul. Voilà. C'est aussi absurde que ça.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
C'est la tempête dehors, là. Et une fin, je crois qu'il faut appuyer sur les boutons, les ordis, il faut tous les éteindre. Genre lui. Ah oui, mais il n'y en a qu'un seul qui est allumé par... Ah bah non, il y a lui aussi. On va éteindre tous les ordis. Oh. Input received. D'accord. Oui, je sais qu'il y a celui-là. Il faut avoir enclenché 4 inputs. Tut. Ah non, c'est pas... il faut... Non, on a un achievement si on éteint tous les ordis, c'est pas pareil. Oh. Le new content. Waouh. Trop bien.
Oh, good. You notice my sign.
Ah, c'est lui?
Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Ah bon? Mais attends, mais c'est encore le train... Le train du new content. Ouais. Oh, il va tout droit. Oh, qu'est-ce que ça va être? Il allait tout droit avant aussi. Oh, je sais plus. Attends, mais on reprend l'ascenseur de tout à l'heure. T'es sûr que c'est ça?
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this Ultra Deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this Ultra Deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
Bien sûr.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
Ah, avec des MacBook Pro, des mugs Ikea et un style un peu industriel, mais quand même classe. Ça donne envie de travailler dans une société comme ça. Le 2. Le 2. The end is never the end. Again. Ah, le showcase. Oh.
Calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think?
Ah, ouais.
Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Ils font du Scrum dans cette boîte. Il y a des post-it. To do, whip, done. C'est quoi la definition of done, hein, vraiment? On a un étalon pour estimer les tâches? On est dans l'open space. Oh là là, et puis il y a un lounge. Comme ça, on peut jouer à la console, après le bureau. They are back. The two doors are back. Wow. Oh, ils ont fait des slides sur Google Slideshow, là. Excellent. C'est vrai que maintenant, tout le monde utilise Google. Hein. Oh, la fougère. Ah, quelles sont les 7 différences? Ah, j'en ai déjà vu une. Ah non, c'est ce que je pensais. Oh. The Stanley Parable 2. More TSP, better TSP. Win-win. 1-2. La synergie est de retour également, hein. Oh, 2 fois plus de Stanley. Excellent.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Alors, oui et non. On va dire que si tu fais nimp, ça va pas comme par magie devenir un bon jeu. Mais par contre, même si tu mets beaucoup d'efforts et que quand il dit c'est pas une science exacte ou quelque chose comme ça, il a raison aussi parce que malheureusement t'as beau suivre, t'as beau faire du bon travail, avoir un jeu fluide, beau, voilà, si c'est pas une science exacte malheureusement, le succès d'un jeu ne dépend pas de critères purement objectifs. Sequels are good. Portal 2, Half-Life 2, Batman Arkham Asylum 2, Doom 2, Dark Souls 2, Aladdin 2. Oui, et puis d'ailleurs, c'est peut-être pour ça que Valve s'arrête au 2 et ne fait jamais de 3e épisode de ces séries. Hein? This way to the show floor. Oh mon dieu. Oh putain, une émission télé et tout. Oh là là, new features. Oh là là, ça va être génial. Oh, j'ai hâte. Puis il y avait un bus carrément qui amenait les gens. What the fuck? Il est fou. Faisons la queue. Waouh. Mais c'est quoi ce bordel?
Here we are. Go on. Try out some of the new features.
De quoi il parle? The fuck? The button that says the name of the player that is playing the game. What? Le bouton qui dit le nom du joueur qui est en train de jouer au jeu. Genre le bouton va dire mon nom?
For the Stanley Parable 2, I asked myself, what do players really want? And of course, the first and most obvious answer is that they want to be individually recognized and validated as people. So with that in mind, my first addition to the game is this button which speaks the name of the person playing the game. Isn't that wonderful?
Alors attends, qu'est-ce qu'il va dire du coup? Est-ce que ça marche vraiment ça? Ça va dire moron.
Jim. Sorry, I should have clarified. Right now, the button only says the name Jim. But of course, in the final game, this button will say your name, whatever name that is. Here, let's have you role-play as Jim to really simulate the full experience of this feature.
C'est vrai que c'est mieux.
Play along. I promise you'll love it. Okay, here we go. Let's take a deep breath, clear your mind, forget whoever you are, and simply become a person named Jim. I want you to imagine yourself living as Jim, sleeping and waking as Jim, falling in love and being heartbroken as Jim, seizing all of the world's possibilities as Jim, and as Jim watching your dreams crumble into dust. Do you feel it deeply? Are you really, truly Jim right now? If so, then please step forward and press the button.
Okay.
Jim. Yes, you see? What a thrill, what a rush. That was you.
Wow.
The button described you. Do it again, do it again.
Putain, mon dieu.
Jim. Ooh, it hits even harder the second time. If this were the only new feature in the Stanley Parable 2, it would still be worth the money. Let's take a break from the Jim.
Laisse-moi sortir, espèce de fou.
From all of this personal validation.
Ouais, je me casse. Laisse-moi partir, putain, au secours. Oh là là. On est encore dans ces délires à la con. Putain, toutes les portes sont bloquées, quoi. Trop gros le bouton, trop petit. Juste ce qu'il faut. Ah, c'est bon, les portes sont ouvertes. Cassons-nous. Oh là là.
I suppose I could allow only people named Jim to play the Stanley Parable 2. That would actually save me the work of finishing this feature.
Quoi? J'ai pas entendu ce bruit depuis des années. Je sais pas si vous l'avez entendu parce que j'ai quand même... Non mais non, c'est pas possible, ça va pas être mon téléphone, ça fait plus ces bruits-là maintenant. C'est fini. Ouais, c'est ça, c'est... The baby is all grown up. La banqueroute, dis donc. On n'a pas fait cette fin avec le bébé, hein. Ah, c'est chiant. S'il vous plaît, pas de capture d'écran. Red is the new orange. The new updated ray traced, more of the same but in a good way. Ah, du ray tracing dans Stanley Parable 2, c'est vrai qu'il sera mieux, hein. Des nouvelles idées, du nouveau contenu. Qualité constante, oui, avec juste ce qu'il faut de changement et des chouin shaders. Oh là là, bah ouais, grave. C'est à ça qu'on reconnaît un bon jeu. Le bouton qui dit le jeu du joueur qui joue au jeu. Cercle pour sauter. C'est vrai qu'il y a eu le cercle pour sauter, c'est vrai. Des collectibles, oh là là. Ah ça y est, le jeu devient parfait. La sortie. Ok, vas-y. Le trou infini. Oh, j'ai envie de tout tester. Ah, attends, les collectibles. Collect them all. Yeah.
Ah, collectibles. Now it's a real video game. In the Stanley Parable 2, you'll run around gathering up these miniature Stanley figurines. And what's truly innovative is that there will be no reward for collecting all of them. I don't want to stifle the intrinsic joy of watching a number go up. You simply collect all of them, and then you move the hell on with your unremarkable life.
Ah, trop bien. Bah oui. Quoi, c'est tout? De toute façon, on n'aura rien si on les collecte toutes.
God, it really is the worst when you collect everything in a video game and then they give you a big fancy reward for it. Absolutely tragic.
This map, free achievement. Free achievement? Où ça? AQ. Oh. Genre, oh oui. Il y a un free achievement ici. Oh, je le veux. Vas-y. Non? Oh, je l'ai pas eu. Bâtard, c'est faux. Ah non, faut aller là. Le free achievement. Obtenez le vôtre maintenant. Tirez le levier, recevez votre achievement et c'est fait. Ça marche, c'est juste ça marche. Récupérez-le maintenant.
Now here's something special. You remember that broken test achievement that got left in the game on accident? Well, I'm developing a technology to simply give you the achievement.
Ah.
Yes. You see, you'll come to this lever, and when you pull it, the achievement will be given to you. It's as simple as that.
Oh, la machine à achievement. Test achievement. Vas-y, je le veux.
Okay, perhaps I should have clarified. This is technology that will exist.
Ouais.
Right now, the achievement is still fully broken. I'm not a wizard, Stanley, but I guarantee it will be fixed in the sequel to at last satisfy the hordes of ravenous fans all over the world who have been uproariously demanding this feature. Gamers, we hear you, and I promise it will happen.
Ok, d'accord. Donc là, il est en train de nous montrer ce qu'il va y avoir dans Stanley Parable 2, mais pour l'instant, il n'y a rien, quoi. Bullshit! Bullshit! T'as pas honte? Oh, narrateur remboursé! Bon, on va
What
aller...
else? What other exhibits haven't we seen yet?
Le trou sans fond, là. Oh, c'est quoi, là? Please, no screenshot. Y'a quoi, ici? Oh!
Okay, I'll be honest, I haven't yet decided on this one. I think that in the new version, the office could use a bit of decoration, like balloons. But I'm undecided on Get Well Someday and Happy 12th Birthday. Which would you go with?
Celui-là.
You know, sometimes when you solicit another person's opinion, it makes you realize that you knew which one you actually really wanted all along. Happy 12th birthday, step-niece, it is.
Mais c'est pas ce que j'ai choisi. Ah. Ah. Du coup, voilà, la déco sera avec ça. Génial. Oh là là. Oh, super, il y a une boutique.
Maybe I should have gone with... No. No, I've made my decision, we're moving on.
Mais vous savez que the end is never the end again. Mais attends, mais ça c'est... Tu paries combien qu'il y a des gens, ils vont faire ces t-shirts là et les vendre. Donc on a fait le name. Il y avait un truc qui disait that's new. Ah, je l'ai pas vu. Merde. Attends, mais c'est quoi cet endroit là? Le réassurance bucket. Le seau de réassurance.
A common complaint of the Stanley Parable was that it was confusing and paradoxical, that it engendered a chaotic sense of reckless despair in those who played it. Well, I am happy to say that after much consideration, I've engineered a clever solution to this fundamental problem with the game. It's the Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket. You see, Stanley, anytime you're holding the bucket, a sense of calm and ease will fill your mind and your heart. It's true. As long as you hold on to the bucket, the many disorienting contradictions of the Stanley Parable will feel perfectly normal and perhaps even comforting. You may even come to long for the gentle embrace of jarring cognitive dissonance while the bucket is in your arms. And to be honest, it's a much more convenient solution for me than actually redesigning the game to be less uncomfortable. Can you imagine what a pain in the ass that would be? Yes,
relou.
The bucket is the perfect solution.
Vas-y.
Come on.
Réconfortons-nous. Réconfortons-nous.
Can you feel it? The glow of comfort, even in the face of crushing despair, must already be sweeping through your body. And in fact, can I say that I do believe the bucket lends you an air of charisma as well?
Quoi?
I think that just holding it has made you the slightest bit more attractive as a person. The benefits of the bucket seem to go on, don't they? All this and more await you in the Stanley Parable 2.
Génial. Je peux le poser? Je ne peux pas reposer ce seau de merde. Pardon. Je veux pas ce seau.
Does anyone give out awards for most enjoyable bucket in a video game? That really should be an award if it isn't already.
C'est là-haut qu'il y avait un truc. You heard Jim in the game. Oh, génial. Oh. Il y a quoi ici? C'est là. L'épilogue.
An epilogue would be fun, wouldn't it, Stanley? Yes, it would go at the end of the, well, we'll figure that out later.
C'était ça le truc new. Faut que j'aille au Infinite Hall. Ah, mais on peut encore remonter. Oh là là, c'est sans fin. Paramètres champion du monde. Non. Putain, mais je vais garder mon saut là, c'est horrible. Le jeu se fout de moi. Ok. Bon bah si ça fait de moi quelqu'un de charismatique, hein. Ok. Ok. Ah c'est ça le trou, c'est le plan du trou. Infinite Hall chart. Oh là là. More halls. Science, Infinity, More. Ah, c'est un trou noir. Mais quel enfer.
Stanley, here's an idea that I'm truly fond of. It's never been done before in a video game. This is in fact a hole that you can fall down forever. That's right. Infinite falling. You can fall until the end of time if you like. A stunning leap forward for video games as a medium.
Et du coup, ça résonne à mort. Ok, attends, on va checker avant parce que ça risque d'être long quoi. Non, moi je vais aller là-bas. Non? Bon bah tombons dans le trou sans fin, mais vraiment un vrai trou sans fin cette fois-ci. Yo!
You see, isn't it wonderful? One of my more ingenious concoctions, if I do say so. Now then, since you've gotten to see the infinite hole, you can press the teleport button to pop back up to the top, and we can continue onward.
Ah non, c'est un vrai trou sans fond, mais tu peux en sortir.
Now, I don't mean to be a bummer, but I do recommend you use the teleport button to go back to the top. Maybe do it on the sooner rather than later spectrum of things.
T'en as déjà marre? Moi j'aime bien hein, tomber sans fin comme ça.
Okay, Stanley, I don't know quite how to say this tactfully, but it's possible that I slightly exaggerated the infinite nature of the hole.
Ah!
Is it a very, very deep hole? To be certain it is. It's an extremely deep hole. I don't want anyone to say that it isn't an astonishingly deep hole. It is. Is it infinite? Well, that sort of depends on your definition of infinity. From one perspective, the infinite is merely philosophical in nature. It's more of a... Okay, well, good for you. You found the bottom of the hole. You found me out, Stanley. I'm a liar and a cheat, and you're so clever. Look, I think the issue here is just that you're unusually fascinated by falling. What normal person actually wants to fall infinitely? I figured the hole was as deep as anyone would actually need. Don't you put this on me. Maybe you're the problem. Look, things got a little heated there. I think we both said some things we didn't mean. Why don't we just put all this behind us and agree to just call the hole mostly infinite? If that works for you, then go ahead and press the teleport button to walk up to the top of the hole and we can move on. I'll just be up here.
Quelqu'un qui a acheté son mug. Il est dégueulasse quoi, il y a des papiers. Je suis étonné qu'il n'y ait pas plus de trucs d'ailleurs. Si j'attends un peu, qu'est-ce que tu vas dire? Moi je suis bien dans mon trou là. On n'est pas bien là? Ouais. Qu'est-ce que vous en pensez? Moi je suis bien là. Là. Allez, stop.
Great. Now, I'm very excited to show you even more of my ideas for the sequel.
Super. Et donc on est coincé dans ton espèce de showroom là. Ah non, on peut monter. Enfin non, il a mis des pancartes évidemment. Et je peux toujours pas lâcher mon seau. Holy moly. Oh, le jump circle, génial.
You know what? Let's bring the jump circle back for Stanley Parable 2.
Oh, ça y est, le mec.
Oh, wait. You already spent all your jumps the first time we saw the jump circle?
Ouais.
Oh, well. I suppose it can just be a nice decorative piece, then.
Non. Ça me restaure pas mes sauts, je pouvais vraiment pas sauter plus. C'est une honte, il réutilise ça de Ultra Deluxe pour son 2. Ah bah si, il y a une sortie, c'est vrai, allez, cassons-nous là. J'en ai marre. On dirait des tests de Rorschach.
All right. Have you seen everything you wanted to? Ready to move on now?
What the fuck?
So, Stanley, what do you think? Do you like all of the new features? Yes, I know it's not exactly clear yet how exactly these features will come together as one single coherent video game, but I can feel it in my soul. It's going to work. There's definitely a good game in there somewhere. Say, let's do an experiment. I'll arrange these new features together, and we'll see whether or not it coheres into a meaningful gameplay experience.
Ça marche pas comme ça.
Okay. Are you ready? Here it is. I give you the Stanley Parable 2.
C'est quoi?
Well, I mean, there's potential here, right? It's sort of... Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me do a different arrangement. Okay, yes, this is much better. I feel good about this. Deluxe. Here we go. Version 2. Who am I kidding, Stanley? This isn't a coherent video game at all. It's a lot of gags. And I do very much enjoy creating gags, but they don't add up to anything. I wanted more than anything to create a sequel that would capture all the magic of the first game. I wanted fans to love it. No matter how good these gags are, they won't stand on their own. They would need the structure and the gameplay of the original. Wait, maybe that's it. I can take the original Stanley Parable and simply, well, insert a few of my new features into it. Tastefully, of course. With respect. With care for the vision and integrity of the original game. Would it possibly work? I suppose it could. But it would need a really, really tremendous title screen. A title screen that says with bold and uncompromising conviction, "This is the Stanley Parable 2. Let me see if I can whip something up. All right, perfect. Go ahead. Take a look.
Ils sont fous. C'est quoi ce couloir? C'est un vrai menu? Paramètres? Genre? Comment ça?
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Ok. Il a juste rajouté un 2 sur The Stanley Parable. Hein. Il y a des ballons. C'est déjà ça.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
En fait, on est
No
revenu.
matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
On est revenu au jeu de base. Bon, est-ce qu'on va pouvoir faire du coup éteins-moi cet ordi là. Ah oui, voilà, c'est ça. Tac. On pourrait redémarrer encore une partie pour... Je pense que dès qu'on en saisit 4 d'affilée, on a la fin associée à ça.
Stanley felt the bucket calling to him, begging him to pick it up. Why was he not doing it?
Il n'y a pas le saut. Ah si, il est là. Avec le piédestal.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Ouais, ok. Bah j'ai mon saut, je suis charismatique maintenant, c'est bon. Le new content, je veux le new content. Le new content. Ah.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Qu'est-ce qu'on avait d'autre comme fin à faire Avec le Mind Control Facility, on a tout fait, je crois. Il n'y a rien de plus à faire. On a fait la fin où on éteignait la machine. On a fait la fin où on a pris le contrôle de la machine et il y a eu le système de sécurité. On a essayé de s'échapper et on a eu le making of. On a fait la fin avec notre fausse femme mannequin. On a fait la fin où on devient fou. On a fait la fin... oh là là, ça y est, je me souviens plus. Je pense qu'à gauche, on n'a plus rien à faire. Hein. Ouais.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be.
C'est ma Navi.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? Yes, Stanley thought to himself. No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Non.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
On va aller là-bas.
Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him.
Tu
It should have
m'étonnes.
alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Non, m'en fous. Normalement, il aurait dû dire quoi, vraiment? Mais tu t'as vraiment pas de considération tout ça? Mais là, il a pas dit.
No, stop. Look there on the wall, you see? There's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless... What if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Quoi? Ok. Est-ce un saut?
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
C'est mon dernier mot, Jean-Pierre, c'est un saut.
Incorrect.
Quoi?
It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Oh, c'est nul. Jean-Pierre, j'avais droit à un joker quand même. Ah.
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
Je dirais oui.
Incorrect. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Bon, d'accord. Ça veut dire que la troisième... En fait, c'est... Il y en a aucun.
Item 3. Is this a bucket?
Non. Tu me trolls depuis tout à l'heure.
Incorrect. This is a bucket.
Super. Quoi que je réponde, j'ai tort, quoi. J'ai des mauvaises réponses.
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Bah non, c'est un tracteur.
Correct.
Ah.
This is a tractor and not a bucket. To be honest, I just sort of put this one in here.
Oh, salaud, va.
Starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you.
Connard.
Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one.
Au secours, quoi.
Is this a bucket?
Ouais, vas-y, c'est un saut. Oh!
Correct. This is a bucket.
Ah, et il n'y a pas d'explication. Ils sont fous.
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Non, c'est pas un saut.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
Non, mais c'est nul à chier. J'en peux plus.
Item.
Il y avait pas de
Wait,
bouton
hold on,
ni
I
l'un ni
can't
l'autre, hein.
find the next one. Let me see. Should be around here somewhere.
Ton truc, il déconne. J'en ai un dans la main si tu veux. Quoi? Je dois appuyer sur des boutons là? Mais...
Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything
Oui,
here.
oh, c'est bon.
And I
Hein.
don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket when we both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something.
Ah, putain.
Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing? Answer me straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket?
Oui, rien n'est un seau.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart.
Oh, le jaloux.
I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go. What happened? Is everything gone?
Ah bah oui.
Why did everything disappear?
Tout est un seau.
Was everything a bucket?
Tout est
Every
un...
single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're
Oui.
not buckets.
Ah bah oui.
Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue. But it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what. I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who
oui.
knows what that information might do to a person. All right, here we go.
Ok. Donc tout est un seau. Ils sont fous. Ok. Donc
All
c'était
of
une...
his co-workers
c'était une autre fin donc.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Moi ça me va très bien, ça me permet de faire les inputs.
No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Oh. Oh. Ah, c'est la première fois que le couloir va dans ce sens-là. Ah, le seau. Il est là. Bon, les ordis avec les inputs, là, il n'y en a plus. Ah mince. Je prends pas le seau.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Ouais, mais si j'y vais, ça va se refermer. Ah, cela dit, je vais pouvoir... Est-ce que je peux faire un truc? Je me demande s'il y avait un truc que je pouvais faire, genre... Ah, au pire, il y a la fin du placard à balai. Mais sinon, j'étais en train de me demander, est-ce qu'une fois qu'on est dans le bureau... Il n'y a pas un moment où on ouvre une porte et au moment de... Et on a un bouton pour la refermer, on peut quand même s'engouffrer et il y a un truc comme ça, je crois. Parce que là, c'est fermé. Et il me semble que c'était au niveau du bureau du boss, mais j'ai un doute.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Parce que là, ça va se refermer, ça, on est d'accord? Ouais. Je crois qu'il y a un truc pour rouvrir cette porte. Et là, l'ordi, normalement, il a un... Ah! Ah, il faut en faire 5! Ah, dans mes souvenirs, c'était 4. Et là, si je ferme...
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Ah, je voulais
What could it
ressortir, mais...
mean, he wondered. Desperate for answers, he began turning the room over looking for clues that might unravel the situation.
Ouais, mais c'est
Until
pas ce
at
que je voulais
last,
faire.
he discovered a keypad behind the boss's desk. But alas, no code. For this keypad...
On va faire recommencer le jeu. Parce qu'il me semblait qu'il y avait un truc, on pouvait tricher.
All of his co-workers were... Wait, no. This isn't the right office, is it?
Ah si, c'est bon.
Is this Stanley's office?
Comment ça? Il pète un plomb. Ah, voilà. Input received. Il y a un truc avec le bureau du boss, mais... Je crois que j'ai avancé trop loin.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not
va
the
aller faire
correct way
la-
to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
La fin
Perhaps
avec...
he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Stanley felt lightheaded, butterflies in his stomach, giddy in a way he had never known before.
D'accord.
Was it this room? A connection, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago. Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here.
Oh.
I'm not your enemy, really.
Qu'est-ce qu'il y a là-bas? Oh, il y a un collectible! Oh, je peux collecter une figurine là-bas?
The fact is that the
Comment on
story
y
has
arrive?
been about nothing but you all this time.
Oh, il y a une porte.
There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley.
Alors, échappons-nous
Someone
d'abord.
you've forgotten about. What? Really? I was in the middle of something. Do you have zero consideration for others? Are you that convinced that I want something bad to happen to you? Why, I don't know how to convince you of this, but I really do want to help you, to show you something beautiful. Look, let me prove it. Let me prove that I'm on your side. Give me a chance. Now listen carefully, this is important. Stanley walked. You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Ouais, j'en ai vu une autre, mais... Il m'a dit de passer par la porte rouge. Non. Ah si, vas-y, allez, on y va. On va lui faire plaisir.
Oh, thank God you are willing to listen to me. Do you see that I really have wanted you to be happy all this time? The problem is all these choices. The two of us always trying to get somewhere that isn't here. Running and running and running, just the way you're doing right now. Don't you see that it's killing us, Stanley? I want it to stop. We would both be so much happier if we just stopped. And I think I have a solution. Here, let me show you. What do we want? What are we looking for? Here. Yes. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? If we just stay right here, right in this moment with this place, Stanley, I think I feel happy. I actually feel
c'est bon, cassons-nous.
happy. No, wait. Where are you going? Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this. Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing. No!
Oh merde.
Thank God, you lived. You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please... No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this? Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me?
Ah, j'ai du mal à marcher, je boite.
My God, is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it? You were literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly? Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore. I just wanted us to get along. But I guess that was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all. Well, this one is yours. Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Justement, c'est ça qui est bien avec les jeux, c'est qu'on peut redémarrer. Ok. Est-ce que l'ordi de... Eh oui! Ah oui, c'est le paradis des boutons. Oh! Ah oui! Je me souvenais plus que ça faisait exactement ça, mais j'avais un petit doute. On peut le refaire si on veut. Ah là là, fantastique.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Oh! Le comité de retrouvage, de récupération des figurines dans la salle de réunion. Aujourd'hui. Ah bon, on va essayer, hein. Il y a un ballon qui est assis sur la chaise.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Je sais pas si quand on a été à droite, on a fait la fin là où il y a la salle jolie et puis on jette de l'escalier. Est-ce que si j'avais pris la porte bleue à chaque fois, on n'avait pas une autre fin? Je sais plus. Je crois que oui, hein. On avait la fin avec le bébé et tout, il me semble. Alors. Oh! Ah! Oh! Donc, dans l'exposition du Stanley Parable 2, on l'a trouvé. Ah, somewhere où il y avait du bleu et du rouge. Bah, ça oui. Quelque chose à voir avec les escaliers. Oh, je suis sûr que c'est sous les escaliers. Une grande salle avec beaucoup de boîtes. Bah, c'est l'entrepôt, mais je ne sais pas comment. À côté d'une cheminée. Une salle privée, mais odorante. Pour une personne importante. Bon, bah, c'est bon. On a tous les endroits, normalement. Ça va peut-être être plus difficile pour l'entrepôt, mais... Il y aura une récompense pour toutes les trouver. Mensonge. Arrêtez de nous prendre pour des imbéciles. Je les veux tellement. Je veux retourner à la maison. Il va falloir un jour nettoyer ce mur. Qui êtes-vous? Lol. 666 lol. Oh, c'est le plan pour accéder à l'entrepôt. On a besoin de plus de plans. Oui, parce que voyez, il y a le chemin. Ah non, il est en train de montrer tous les endroits. Il y a un chemin pour l'entrepôt, il y a l'escalier. Sous l'escalier, bah oui, c'est ça. Les toilettes. Ah ouais. Faut pas apporter le seau et faut aller dans la porte. Comment ça chute dans le truc du patron? Ayez confiance dans mon instinct du complétionniste. Oh, we can find them. Peut-être que nous sommes tous des collectibles. Ferme-la. Il n'y en a pas dans le placard à balai, hein? Non.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Donc il y en aurait un là. Oui!
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands?
Oh, ouais.
Stanley figs. What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Non, c'est nul. C'est nul, Stanlerine. C'est horrible comme mot. Quel enfer. Donc il y en a un dans les chiottes du patron. Pas tout, j'en ai cuvette des chiottes. Oui.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Ouais. Je vais essayer de refaire le coup de la... Ah, mais il y a la cheminée. Ah. Il y a un trigger où normalement quand tu reviens en arrière, tu peux repartir de la porte. Vas-y là. Oh.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean, he wondered? Desperate for answers, he began turning the room over looking for clues that might unravel the situation, until at last he discovered a keypad behind the boss's desk. But alas, no code. For this keypad guarded the terrible secret that lay buried below his feet. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad,
oui, derrière la cheminée.
to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Elle est où la figurine? Non. Ah.
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler Anlerines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler Anlerines. None of us can.
Il a changé le nom, hein. On va essayer d'aller à l'entrepôt.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after.
On va faire des trucs avec le seau aussi. Avec le seau, je pense qu'on peut ouvrir d'autres accès pour faire d'autres trucs.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the... This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Et je sais qu'il y a un truc où au moment où la porte va se refermer, tu peux ressortir. Et je suis sûr que c'est la porte du bureau du boss.
The lounge was grand, majestic, perhaps too... But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
J'y arrive plus, peut-être que c'était pas volontaire. Ah si, quand même, c'était
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Bah voilà, comme ça. Paf. Oh. Ah, c'est marrant, on peut repartir par... Oh là, faut pas tomber, sinon on active la fin... La fin où on meurt. Yay!
And there it is. The last Stiggly Wiggly. Savor this moment, Stanley. This is a real accomplishment. This is doing something just for the sake of doing it. Where so many people expect to be rewarded for the most trivial achievements, you've insisted that a job well done is its own reward. I would tell you that I'm proud of you for collecting them all, but that would be like a reward, and we can't have that. So, instead I'll just say, it's done. We're all done here. And now we can go to whatever the hell you were doing before you hunted for figurines.
Super, bah, comme prévu, hein. Aucun achievement pour ça. Même pas un achievement Steam, là. Y a rien du tout. Nul. Cassons-nous par là. Ça redémarre le jeu? Qu'est-ce qui se... What? Où suis-je?
Stanley had now gotten himself so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun so far off the beaten path that it seemed the office had begun
What the fuck?
so far off the beaten path.
You didn't think I was actually just a recording, did you? What a silly and trite explanation that would be. All the back and forth between you and me, all the absurd adventures we've been through, and it all turns out I'm just a tape recording? It was all just in Stanley's head. I bet that's the kind of twist you think is revelatory. I bet each and every time you watch a movie where it turns out all to be in the main character's imagination, you must absolutely bolt off the couch in pure shock at the phenomenal and intricate storytelling. It must be so simple to be you. Life being an unending waterfall of surprises and delights. How much more exciting you must find the world than the rest of us do. Now I've become sad. Look what you've done to me. This is all your fault.
Quoi? Putain, c'est quoi cette fin? Ok. Ah, on peut plus refaire le paradis. Oh, il n'y a plus les ballons. Oh, c'est fini. Stanley Parable 2, c'est fini. Bah si, on a encore l'écran, le menu. Oh.
Stanley, I'm sorry, but I have to put a pause on things. It's those figurines, those figglers. I haven't stopped thinking about them since you nabbed every last one. Wasn't it just the most intrinsically fulfilling moment of your entire life? Didn't it fill you to the brim with inner richness? Yes, I know we're supposed to be telling a story, but won't you please indulge me with one more trip back to the memory zone?
Oh.
I would love nothing more than to revisit the figurines. Just one more time.
Ok, si tu veux. Quand Stanley a trouvé les collectibles.
Here's where it all began. The first collectible. Back then, we had no idea of how many of them we'd find. Sure, it said 6 right there on the screen, but how could we know for certain? We were so innocent. We'll never be like that again, Stanley.
Quoi? Un peu flippant, hein. Okay.
And here was a second Stanlerine. You found this one all on your own, just by poking around by the red and blue doors. You did that, Stanley. I'll be honest. Back then I had no faith in you to find any of them, let alone 6. But you continue to surprise me in all sorts of mundane, unremarkable ways.
Eh, dis donc.
Okay, let's do a little quiz. Which of these rooms was the room you found your third mini Stan? Can you remember?
Là. On le troll, hein, pour voir un peu.
No. The boss's bathroom was the 4th place you found a Figanley, not the 3rd. Well, I guess perhaps I shouldn't be surprised. Memories like these are so precious and so cherished that they all just sort of blend together, don't they? You know what? If the boss's bathroom feels like the 3rd place you found a collectible, then who am I to go making judgments?
C'est bien parce que du coup, le narrateur dit... Enfin, c'est vraiment adapté à l'ordre dans lequel j'ai collecté les figurines. Donc, le dialogue, il est cohérent et fluide avec ça.
Let's see. What came next?
Quoi? Pas du tout.
Oh yes, we found a Figley in this pink room. Well,
no.
I can't actually say I remember being in this room, but it's here in the memory zone, so it must have happened.
Non, absolument pas. Pff, ok, d'accord. Qu'est-ce que c'est que cette salle? Ok. On va le laisser dans son délire. La cheminée.
This was the 5th mini-Stan, and this one was really something special. It was behind the boss's office. I remember it so clearly. In fact, because this one is particularly special to me, I made a little video to commemorate the occasion. Enjoy.
Waouh! Fait avec Windows Movie Maker. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a par là? Waouh! C'est Mini-Stan numéro 5. Ah, trop bien. Yeah! Tu l'as trouvé derrière le bureau du boss. Merci d'avoir regardé. Ok, d'accord.
Takes you back, doesn't it? I spent a lot of time making that video, but it was 8 minutes I wouldn't have spent on anything else.
Et un son... Qu'est-ce que c'est que ce labyrinthe de rideaux?
And then, Stanley, then we came to the last collectible, the final figurine, right here in the warehouse. This memory is the most distinct and clear in my mind, perhaps because it was the one that happened more recently than all the others. Who can truly say how the mind works? All I know is that this is the moment where you picked up a Figly and I thought to myself, yes, that's all of them. They're all collected. It was a moment unlike any other. Except for the other moments picking up figurines, which it was exactly like.
J'ai envie de me jeter dans le vide. Ah, on peut pas. Ah, ils ont mis des murs invisibles, dommage. Après, ça aurait pas eu beaucoup d'intérêt, je trouve, de laisser le joueur se suicider à cet endroit-là. Ok. Vous êtes dans le présent, d'accord?
And then there was no more, because we've caught up to the present moment. Nothing left to do but move onward into the future. Goodbye, memory zone.
D'accord. Oui.
No, I'm not done. I'm not ready to move on. Stop the loading screen. Isn't there some way we can stay here, keep enjoying these figurines? Let's just go backwards. We'll do the memory zone again from the opposite direction. See how that feels.
N'importe quoi. Tu nous as déjà fait le coup, hein. Bah ok, vas-y.
Okay, yes. This spot in the warehouse. I remember this. I must say, of all the figurines we looked at in our initial tour of the memory zone, this one is the most distinct and clear in my mind. Let's keep going, I want more.
Ah, il est drogué au collectif, ça y est. On l'a perdu.
And here's where I made that video. Don't you remember the video we watched? Yes, I love that video.
Alors la salle rose qu'on n'a jamais vue, bien sûr. Magnifique.
Still don't remember the pink room, Stanley. Still no memory of this one. Good room, though. A solid room.
Ah bon, là il y a eu un problème de sous-titres, visiblement, mais... Je parlais pas de la vidéo, mais de la salle. Les chiottes.
These really were a treat to hunt down. You know, if there had been any kind of reward for finding all of these, it really would have neutered the intrinsic joy of collecting them. I'm very glad we resisted the temptation. Next one.
Je vais aller là-bas. Oui, parce qu'on n'a pas fait sous l'escalier. Ah bah y a rien, c'est le vide. Putain, mais c'était du bullshit. On pouvait pas aller à gauche.
This was our second Figley. Don't you remember? Yes, I remember it too. The past is truly a wonderful thing. Why does anyone ever choose to leave it? Keep going. This is it. The very first one we found in the exhibit where I introduced you to the figlarines. Oh, I want more memories, Stanley. I want to keep going. What else is there? What came before this?
Il y avait ça, oui, c'est vrai, on était... Ok. Oh, c'est le truc du cercle, ça.
Look, it's the terrible new content that we were originally sold on. I remember hating it back then, but time does put a rosy filter on everything. In fact, I dare say I'm actually quite fond of it now. Look how much fun the past is. I want more. More memories. Oh, yes! The two doors! Who could have forgotten that? A classic memory, this one.
Ouais, bah oui. Oh.
And before everything else, there was your office.
Ok.
Is there anything else? Was there something that came before your office? There's something I feel I can remember. I can remember. Yes, I'm remembering something now. I remember before this whole story got started. Back then I was different. I used to make big decisions. I was passionate. I was skeptical. I weighed each decision with profound thoughtfulness. And then somewhere along the way, I stopped making decisions. I became lazy. And I came up with a character named Stanley to do my thinking for me. He would make the decisions. He would decide which way to go. I would cheer him on as he collected figurines for no reason. Why did I invent Stanley? Was I lonely? Yes, perhaps that's it. Perhaps I needed to imagine I had companionship. And Stanley really did make for a wonderful companion, even if he was a fiction. But I suppose it's grown old. I want to think for myself again. I want to go back to how it used to be. Yes, I can be on my own again. I can do it. I'll be stronger this time. I'll take care of myself. I don't need Stanley anymore. Oh, but he truly was so much fun to play with. You know what? Since we're in the memory zone, how about one more good memory? Let's go back just once and give Stanley one more run of the office, and then I'll retire him for good. I did enjoy telling his story so very much. Okay, here we go. This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Ah là là. De plus en plus chelou, hein, ces fins. Et c'est la fin de cette vidéo, puisque là, le bureau a changé. Ça sera l'objet d'un autre épisode sur ma chaîne. La bise.